Welcome to Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News, where you'll find the best practices, tools, and technology tips to help you grow your real estate business. Here are your hosts, Bernice Ross and Greg McDaniel.
Greg, do we have a great show for our viewers today? It's called How to Handle Angry Clients. Your client, your buyer and seller hate each other. The expletives are flying everywhere. The listing agent is like screaming at you. You're in the middle. What do you do? And this is where you found yourself last week. Could you say a little bit more about what happened?
Yeah, I was, I'm in a couple of different transactions right now, and there was the one side and our side, and, both of them were, both my client and the other agent were both just, they weren't having the best of days. Let's put it that way. Everybody had an opinion about everybody. I found myself waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, being on calls at like 6:30 in the morning. It was a very stressful time for everybody. And so we had both sides that were at odds with each other. And both you and my father came into my mind. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through kind of how I handled it and kind of what the outcome has been and kind of where we are standing as of today.
And, this was, of course, you're selling multi-million-dollar homes. So this was on a big transaction that you've been working on. But what we're going to be covering today is something that I've been working with for a lot of years. And it dates back, some of this stuff dates back to what I learned, back even in the 1980s as I dealt with clients. And these things actually work. I've trained thousands of people on this, on stage, broker owners, agents. It just works. So, and Greg, when I talked to you, you were trying to get a hold of the CAR attorney about what was going on. Yeah. And I say, okay, well, I know who to talk to over there. I can help you with that. But then it dawned on me, and you were pretty cranked. I mean, you're calm today because you're through it and you've worked it out. We'll give everybody a preview.
Yes, I was very much.
When you're in that line of fire, and literally suffering, and everybody's screaming at you, it's like, you may keep your cool when you're with them, and then it's like when you get out of it, it's just. But anyway.
That's why I have all these white beard hairs. It's not because I'm getting old. It's just stress at times. I always joke that this is my evidence of dipping my chin into knowledge. And knowledge sometimes means you get yelled at, but hey, you grow something and you learn something and you move forward, as a human. So yeah, I always joke about that. People get a kick out of that one.
I love it, dipping your beard. That's one I haven't heard before, Greg. So one of the things that hit me about this is I don't think, first thing I know about when we get an attorney in the deal, that generally escalates it and it makes it more, well, I've talked to my attorney and my attorney says, and what you're looking at, it's like, I'm right, my attorney says I'm right. So one of the first things you need to know is that it's not, you need to let go of your need to be right. So you get into this volatile situation and everybody is screaming and going nuts. And like I said, the expletives are flying. Then what do you do? Well, first of all, one of the things you talked about that really helped was letting them vent. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I did exactly what we're talking about here. I took my ego out of it. I said, okay, this is the situation we're sitting in right now. Okay, Mr. My client, give me your points of view. And he had no problem doing that. and an extended version of that. And all of his thought patterns on everything was going on. I just sat there and I said, okay, roger that. 10-4, I hear you. I'm copying what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're laying down. Not a problem. I appreciate you spending some time with me and laying out kind of your points of view here, so I understand exactly where you're standing. That helps me when I'm talking with the other agent, and kind of so when I communicate, to the other agent, I'll be clear on what your intentions are. And then I asked him permission. I said, may I have your permission to take these thoughts and bring them over to the other side verbatim? Then I went back and I read off everything that he had written down. I said, at any point, have I misunderstood anything that you've communicated to me? He said, no. I said, good. thank you for that. Let me put my let me don my battle gear, and I'll go to war for you. And we're gonna, we're gonna get this together. We're gonna, I'm on team you, and we're gonna make this thing happen as a unit. And he heard that, and I said a lot of things in there that really kind of bonded us together. And so then he knew that I had heard what he had said. I had read it back to him, and he was comfortable with having me move forward with his name. And it was awesome.
And Greg, this is one of the first things that I want to talk about today. And this comes from neurolinguistic programming. And what it is a way to bring the anger level down. And I have used this in so many different situations, and it just really works. So the first thing that you want to do is you let them begin to vent. And then you say pause, so like, Greg, you're venting, and I'll say to you, Greg, could you pause for a second? Let me go grab a notebook and a pen. I've got one, and I want to make sure that I am getting exactly what you're saying correct. So could I have you go back through that, what you just said, to make sure that I get all of it?
Mm-hmm.
And notice the voice I'm using right now. I'm in a pretty calm, neutral state. It's called charge neutral. Mm-hmm. But what I've just done now, when somebody is venting like that, when they have to go back and pick it back up, your energy level, when you've been down, will drain out part of their energy. And then as they go on to the next part and say, let me get you to pause again. I just want to verify I've got this correctly. I want to get this down in writing. And again, this is for risk management as well. That's part of the reason, it's something that I've learned that really works, just about protecting my company, protecting our transactions, not getting sued. So I'm taking more notes. And then at that point, then, when you get to the end, it's like, have I gotten down everything right? And normally by that point in time, they have, it's been deflated. Now, what did you experience? Because, you did this technique exactly, and it worked.
Yeah. Funny you see that. Where are we now? Because my client hit me up this morning and asked me a question, and I said, give me 10 seconds. Let me go figure it out. Hit up the other agent. And then my client goes, never mind. I'm so sorry. My apologies. Didn't mean to bother you. And I'm going, that's not the same individual that I talked to last week. And there's been a different level of respect because he knows I'm on team him. Right. And the funny thing is, I know why this technique works, because you use it on me every single time we get together. It's not a joke.
Well, not every time, Greg.
But it does make you feel very heard. It does make you feel appreciated. It makes you feel as if like people are on your side versus everybody battling it out for their own selves. And I can tell you, when you were just going through that right now, I know we're just doing a role play, but even now, I felt very assured that you were on my side. My dad's taught me this. He would always go into negotiations, and he's usually up here. He'd slow it down, and he would take notes. And his notes, I'm not kidding you, Bernice, they literally are scribbles. He literally scribbles. But he just, people love him because they know that he's hearing them.
And, one of the things I found that's really effective is when you read this back, to verify it, because people want to be heard. And your clients want to know you have their back. Well, having their back begins with hearing with what they're saying. And what you've done is you've just verified, that you did hear them, because when you can repeat it back like that, and some people have that great memory. I'm not one of them. So, I'm writing it down, but also they see I'm writing. So, and again, rather than doing it on your computer, paper and a pen where they can see that you're, they can see that physical act of note taking. It's very powerful NLP technique. It works very well.
Interesting thing. And for all you millennials, that does not mean you use your thumbs and put it on your phone. Okay. You got to put it on pen to paper, because it goes from intangible to tangible. And there's a subconscious value there, because now it's something that you can pick up and take with you, and you can give to someone else. It's a very powerful technique. And if you haven't done it before, go try it. It is a ton of fun to watch, because there's a difference. And Bernice, help me understand this. There's a difference between listening and then truly hearing the words coming out of someone's mouth. I've found in my personal life and in my professional life, it's amazing. Guys, if you don't think people talk and then people don't pay attention, they will tell you exactly what their concerns are, but you've got to take your opinion out of it and listen to their words and be like, even if you don't agree with it, right? And they say, well, I don't like a purple bathroom. Okay. Well, okay, you don't like purple bathrooms, Roger. But you try to sell them a house with a purple bathroom because it's in a good location. You didn't hear that they told you they don't like purple bathrooms. And so just start doing that. Take yourself out.
So the, the question would be, and you want to acknowledge that you've heard them. I know when we did our buyer's interview, you said you did not want a house that had purple in it. Well, this house does have a purple bathroom. But it has all these other features that are right. Is that something that you would like to see? Because then you've let them make the decision, and they've acknowledged, okay, well, I can probably change it with some paint, or so I can redo the tiles. I can even paint the tiles. I mean, there are other options there. Now, one of the most important things is, again, this charge neutral. We talked about doing the pattern interrupt and the pause and the taking notes. Is never saying that I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that happens when something goes wrong, a lot of agents say, I'm sorry. And you know what? I didn't have anything to do with that. Why, and the problem with the words I'm sorry is I'm sorry requires an explanation about why you are sorry. So what you want to say, and I've used this. I remember one time we had this client, his name was Murray, my partner and I did, and he had a listing for like 2.3 million. Another one is 5.5 in the prime street, on a prime street in Brentwood Park. And the original house was built in 1920s, wonderful, wonderful house, but in not good repair. And then he did a brand new contemporary that was like, huge and on this great cul-de-sac and everything, but he was $1 million overpriced. And that listing had kicked through about 5 or 6 different brokers. My partner and I got it and it's like, it was, we knew we'd have it for about 60 days. Well, we did sell the one for 2.3 million, closed on that.
Nice.
So that was good. But anyway, so I get the phone call, and this is the, I'm firing you phone call. Oh. And so Murray's on there and he's screaming at me. And I said to him, Murray, it was never my intention to upset you. What can I do to fix it? And he stops and he says, I'm not mad at you. It's your partner I'm mad at.
You're like, okay, hear that.
Yeah. And I mean, we knew that but we had one under contract. This thing was going, it was going to go in foreclosure, and it just that's how it was. We couldn't sell it for $1 million over what it's worth. I don't care how good you are, but that technique. And this is something that is so important. The words fix it. And I want to talk, so you never want to say, I'm sorry. Instead, this is what you want to do. Now, Greg, what is it that makes, what do people love about Nordstrom and Costco in terms of the return policies?
They fix it. I mean, you go to Costco and you can, you did something to hurt that product. You still take it back and you say, this is broken. Oh, okay. Here's right over here. We'll get your money, or we'll do an exchange. We'll do a credit, whatever they're going to do. But they don't haggle. Same thing with Macy's. I think it's Macy's. Yeah. But Nordstrom's. And when I feel like I had that same experience with a pet food company. I picked the wrong food, right? I'm the one that ordered it. I called them saying, hey, my cat isn't eating this. May I return it? Can I do whatever? And they said, you know what, sir? Go ahead and keep that. We're going to actually get the new food. We're going to use your money that you already spent with us, and we're going to ship it to you at no additional cost. And I'm like, hold on. Are you telling me that I can keep the food that I picked out? You're going to send me the right food. You're not going to charge me any additional money. And they're like, yeah, it's exactly what we're saying. I'm like, you just got a client for life. That was the most amazing thing ever. And it cost them $40 and they got a client for life. It's unbelievable. But
money well spent. It costs more money to ship it back. So it's,
Yeah.
So here's the reason this notion of fix it works. Clotaire Rapai is, and I've talked about him in the past if you've read any of my columns or seen other videos I've done, but he's the marketing consultant, or has been the marketing consultant to 50 of the Fortune 100 companies. They pay him $200,000 a day to consult with them on how to sell their products. So he gets at what he calls the culture codes associated with each country. And it's this book, The Culture Code by Clotaire Rapai, and that's Rapaille, Rapaille, The Culture Code. And in that book, he goes through the codes for different countries. And the code for the US that causes us to buy. So Greg, there's 3 different components to this for the US. And the 3 things that we buy on are hope, dream, and fix it. And I am about 98 to 99% certain that both Bill Clinton and Barack Obama worked with Rapai, because Clinton was the man from hope. You know, Hope and Change for Obama's motto, and Dreams of My Father, the book that he did on code for the US on what we buy on. And back in 2015, I predicted that Trump would win the election long before he'd even won the primaries at that point, because he was talking about how to fix it. We buy, fix it. And that's what we like about Costco. We like about, so when you use the words fix it, then that, what can I do to fix it? Then they're telling you what they want and need. You may not be able to do it, but the fact that you are trying to get it fixed is what matters. Sometimes it can't be fixed, but the fact that you were willing to try is what the difference, that you attempted to do something on that.
It's really interesting to look back on. And once you start getting into the whole that whole mindset of understanding the words that you're seeing in different messaging in life, right, whatever it's going to be, you could go buy cereal and it's the messaging to you at some level. But I mean, I really like the fact that once you take it apart and when you say it, because I have a friend of mine, she says sorry more than I have ever heard someone say sorry. Like she walked through the front door, I'm so sorry. Then she walked back through the door, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, stop saying I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. But you know what? Is this something that you should use in business or business and personal?
Both, because here's where it really plays out. So we talked about the word hope, and then, but if you want, if you're working with, I've got a first-time buyer, the great thing about becoming a first-time buyer, you have that dream that you've always wanted to fulfill of becoming a homeowner. Or when we built our dream house on a lot, or that dream retirement property that I want to have, I'm going to have so many good times with, or that large backyard I've always dreamed of having to have my family together and do family barbecues. You see, so that word dream is something that applies across, all that we do. And Americans overall were optimistic. We always, a lot of countries aren't, they come from a no, but this country is always like, when you're a country of tinker, people who, who invent things and are entrepreneurial, it's like, no one starts their own business without having that hope that they're going to succeed. Doesn't always happen, but what you're doing is when you are talking with that angry client, like, going back to my conversation with Mary, and the key words here, it was never my intention to make you angry. What can I do to fix it? I've used that many times, and it just deflates the situation. And what they're doing is coming up with solutions. And, you say when they give you that, and then, I might ask permission, would you like, could we maybe brainstorm some other ways that this might be solved? Or do you see any other solutions for this? Ask for another one. Here's one, you ask for permission to continue that. If that's, if they have one thing in your mind, but you're trying to get them to move to that point where they're back at the negotiation table, where there's more than just their solution. Give them multiple solutions. So, this business of fixing it is really powerful.
You know, when I'm this transaction that we're going through, that we discussed briefly, I actually had, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I did something that I watch my father, and I'm watching you, and I'm learning and everything else. I never stop learning. I love to learn. And I told the other agent, I said, "Hey man, like you and I have got to." I said this. We have to fix this because we're going to be working together, on this deal and possibly some others. And so, how are we going to come together as a team and unite? Because we are getting yelled at by our respective people. We can come together, and we can't yell at each other because that's not going to get this deal fixed. We're not going to get this deal done. And he said, "You're right." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that was easy. Okay, cool."
You were a lot stronger when you told me about what you said to him last week, because the guy's calling up and the expletives are flying at you. And would you be a little bit more clear on how you set that boundary? Because sometimes you have to step into the space when you've got an angry client
Sure.
where you just say kind of enough is enough. And you did that. So what did you say?
I laid out the rules. I said, "This is not how you're going to speak to me. This is not how this is going to go down. Let me help you understand what the next move is going to be." Yeah. And
And it wasn't said quite that nicely.
no, there was a more of a energy behind those words in the comment. But I mean, everybody gets emotional, right? Everyone gets energized and charged up about stuff like, "I'm team right, you're team wrong," and you know, and I said, "You know what? Because I won't be verbally accosted. That's just not how it's going to happen. I don't care if you're a brand new 22-year-old agent or an 18-year-old agent that's just getting in the business. You have to stand your ground. You are not an idiot. You are not a dum-dum. You are not silly. You have every right to run the business the way you feel you want to run the business. And so you take a stand and you don't back down from it, because people will run you over if you allow that in your life. So stop allowing that in your life. People will respect that, because you know what? Nobody wants to work with someone who has no backbone and will just fold for everything. You respect someone who will stand up for their principles and for how they're going to run their business.
And
And that's exactly what happened.
Greg, one of the things you did, in terms where you took that stand, is you used a strategy called take it away from them. And I thought, I hadn't heard it called that before, but I thought it was so spot on. Would you share that with our viewers?
Sure. So the take it away method is something I've seen other people do, and I really enjoy it because, again, my ego wasn't attached to this outcome. Now, this is a very large deal, and I really want to get it done because why? We all like money, and we want to see these things go through, right? But at the exact same time, I wasn't attached to that transaction, and I said, you know what? Maybe this just isn't the house for you guys. Why don't you just feel free, send over the release. I'll explain to my client that it's just not the right home, not the right fit for you. And my client's like, no, 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 no. My client loves this property. His family loves the property. I said, okay, well, we have that discussion out of the way. Let's move forward on the next one. And so eliminate it and move forward.
Now, when I had talked to you last week, the last I heard, you were at this point where the other agent had contacted you and said, well, why don't I just put the two clients together who hate each other, essentially, and let the seller answer the buyer's questions. And how did you get to, how did that get resolved?
They actually are, well, now the energy level has come down with them. They're not so, in each other's faces. And each side understands where they stand. And they know the rules of engagement, right? And so now, you know what? We've set up a 24-hour notice, which my client's fine with. So is the other agents. And we're getting there, slowly but surely. And because people are being respected and heard on both sides, you know what? I think I'm almost 100% sure that we'll be able to walk the property and everybody will get along. They might not like each other the most, but they can get along to get the deal done. We're not here to date. We're here to get a deal done. Really big difference. Okay. Be professional, but be consistent at what you do. And
yeah, are you going to be the person walking the property with them? Because
absolutely.
because you're in control. The other agent, I don't think, is, and certainly not with your clients. So
I hands down will be at that meeting. I don't care what heaven or earth I have to move. I'm going to be there. I don't care.
And again, and one of the things that's really important here is that you are holding the space for this to happen.
Mhm.
And that means, it's like you've kept your ego out of it, and we need to back away. We don't need to prove our point. We don't need to prove we're right. We're there to get the deal done and to bring the buyer and seller together.
That's what you get paid to be, a transaction engineer. Work the problem. Don't become the problem. And it's so easy because when someone hits on some pain points and they're going after you, they're going after your client, you're not professional, your client's a this, that, or another thing, expletives this long, you got to sit back and be like, okay, this isn't my favorite way of being communicated to, but I'll tell you one thing right now, that's not going to happen again. And this is what I mean by that. And it's just, I don't know. It's just stepping into your own strength and knowing that you're not subpar to another individual. You are just as powerful, just as, respected, just as intelligent as these other people are. Now, let's say you're a new agent, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, like I got this really big problem. Well, guess what? You have a manager, you have a broker, you have a controller. Go plop your butt down and have a conversation. You would not believe how many times I've gone up to my broker or I've gone into my controller's office and I'll plop down and be like, okay, so this is the situation. And, my old controller, my old brokerage, she would just kind of give me this look of like, oh man, what did you do this time? And I'm like, I'm talking to you. Hopefully nothing. And I talk to my broker and I talk to the trainers and use the education, read, the like the 20 or 30 years of training that Bernice has put out, something ridiculous, like 50,000 articles or something like that.
Oh no, it's about 1,000. It's about 1,100 right now, but yeah, a lot of
That's a
stuff.
lot of information. So go get smarter, go learn, go be a curious little person and go out there and learn everything you possibly can. So that, you know what, the next time this comes around, you have a pretty good response and an answer and some thoughts on it.
Greg, we've been talking about this, and there's one more piece I want to add to this.
Mm.
Part of the problem is when you say, don't, if somebody's yelling at you, you say, don't yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens is the way their brain processes it, there's two steps. The first one says, yell at me. And then the second part, your brain has to do part two, which is not.
Mm.
So when I tell you not to think of a purple fire engine,
I just thought of a purple
yeah,
fire
you just
engine.
saw a purple fire engine, right? Because your brain first has to create the image of the purple fire engine, and then it has to negate it. So the shift is to ask for what you want. And so instead if a client's yelling at you, instead of saying, stop yelling at me, would you please speak more softly to me? I can't understand you when you're yelling. And if they don't, say, if you can't speak softly to me, I'm going to hang up, or I'm going to leave the room, or I'm going to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and then do so.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, stand up for your boundaries, coming back to what Greg just said, because people want, your clients hired you because they think that you can be able to represent them and you're going to be on their side.
Right.
And having their back is what they really want from you.
And I always make it very clear to my clients, and this is something I say to them. I say, okay, guys, and this actually helps take away part of the energy when things, because every deal is different. Every single one of them, they all have little wrinkled pimples and smiles. I mean, and nothing's gonna be roses and unicorns, okay? And if you find one, let me know. That's like, I have never heard of a perfect transaction. So what I tell them, I said, Bernice, I am so excited to be working with you to help you buy or sell, whatever we're going to be doing. So let me explain to you what's going to happen. Right now, you love me. At some point in the transaction, you're going to be upset with me, and then you're going to go back to loving me. And they're like, no, we trust you. And then something hits the fan, right? And then I just turn to them and say, so is this the part where you hate me? And they say, no, we're just upset with blah. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. Let's get this work. Let's work on this together as a team and get this thing, handled. Is that okay? And then they go right back into, okay, thanks. We know we're distressed. I'm like, I get it. I do this for a living. I know it's in a very energy charged transaction because there's so many moving parts. It's not a big deal. Congratulations. You're human. Okay.
The number of things that you did that, with that were extremely powerful. And, you drew the distinction between being unhappy with the situation versus hating you. And that is a big distinction.
Yeah.
And then also you gave them permission to be in the space that they're in and not make them wrong for being upset, because they have, whether it's justifiable or not, it's where they are. And you are expected, how many times have you heard working with, clients is like herding cats. It's like, being with people that are in kindergarten, if you've been, and by the way, it's one of the reasons that teachers make pretty good real estate agents, because they're used to dealing with acting out.
Oh, that's funny. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, elementary school kids. Oh yeah. They get an elementary school teacher, makes her lesson plan. She's going to be consistent. Yeah. Teachers make great real estate agents. So to wrap up for Greg, you get the final takeaway.
Okay. My takeaway in 2 cents, guys, is try to take your ego out of the transaction. Look, we all know you're intelligent. We all know that that you've worked hard to be where you are. We understand that. But when there is no ego attached to the outcome, it's funny how the outcomes seem to just flow nice and smoothly, because people aren't clashing over like an inspection report or a termite report or whatever else, and demanding things like, okay, well, that's a fair demand. You know what? Let me take it back to my clients, see what they say. And so just breathe a little bit and stand your ground. Don't be a pushover. Know that you're an incredible human and you deserve everything that you've worked for, and then ask for people to respect that, and you give them equal respect in return. So, Bernice, what's your takeaway?
Greg, I want to go back to this business about using the word fix it, hearing what they're saying, writing down, and then reading back to them. That diffuses the situation. And like I said before, I've seen this work for over 30 years in my career. It will work for you. Try it. Greg just did it. Thanks for being with us today, and see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us for Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News. Be sure to tune in for our next show, when we'll be back to share even more ways you can grow your real estate business. For the latest news and analysis, check out the other great stories today on Inman News.